How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at DC's Very Merry Multiverse. This is a one-shot, an 80-page giant, and if you look at the bottom, 10 tales of heroic holiday hijinks. So, 80 pages, 10 tales. They're going to be about 8 pages each, probably exactly. You see the spine, it's pretty thick. You could put it either with your comics or your graphic novels. It's right on the line there. In the back, you get the DC logo and some snowflakes made out of their superhero logos. And you see the list price for this is $9.99, which, granted that you're getting 80 pages, is pretty fair. And there's no ad breaks in this, so that's pretty cool. You get the credits here. Now, normally I read through the credits, but since there is a lot, I'll just let you pause and read them if you want. But here you can also see what characters you're getting in the stories. So, yeah, you do get a pretty big variety of characters, plus they're across the multiverse, so a lot of them are different versions. So, yeah, lots of different characters in this, and you can see who all's in it. Like Captain Carrot was on the cover, but he's not actually in the book. So, anyway, you open up with Harley Quinn. She's feeling sad around the holidays. You actually get a Psy there, who I know from the Harley Quinn animated series. I'm not sure if he's actually been in the comics before, but it is pretty cool to see him here. And you also, in this panel, find out that the DC version of the pandemic was caused by Scarecrow, so that's an interesting bit of trivia. But she's thinking about jumping when this guy shows up and it becomes It's a Wonderful Life, but instead of a timeline where she doesn't exist, instead we get to see different Harleys from across the multiverse. Now, at first I thought this might be a connection piece, but it really is just its own story, so it's not actually tying them together, which, you know, it kind of could because it is multiverse. But anyway, let's move right along. We got 10 of these that we have to get to. Earth 19, and you get to see this kid on a bench, sad that he's probably not going to get a Christmas present, but it turns out the bench is actually this universe's version of Plastic Man, who's actually evil. You see, the Waynes and this other family are in a big rivalry as to who can throw the biggest and best Christmas, which all that stuff is going to cause Plastic Man to show up disguised as this car and try to drive away with a sweet bundle of loot. And then there's Gotham by Gaslight Batman and his Victorian version of the Batwing there, trying to chase him down. So that is pretty cool. And you also get one more villain that I don't think we've seen the Gotham by Gaslight version of. He's really, really a cool design, but I don't want to spoil it. Moving right along, we get the world where genders are reversed, and we see this world's version of Justice League is supposed to be on TV, but they all get taken over by an evil, mind-controlling starfish, and it's up to their young sidekick counterparts to come and save the day. So this is pretty cool to see a bunch of different versions of all these characters. I mean, it does leave you going, okay, that's a interesting version of this character, what's their story, but it doesn't ever really have time to explain it. This is one of those that, you know, if they had given it more time to breathe, could have really become something interesting, but because it's only 8 pages, it's forced to move through a relatively big plot really quickly. This one's actually set on New Year's, and it's 10 minutes before midnight, and for some reason the starfish has to be taken care of before midnight. So by taking this big plot but forcing it to actually be set in 10 minutes really does help with why it's only 8 pages long. Moving along, we get President Superman, clearly inspired by Barack Obama there, and he's celebrating on Earth 23 his very own holiday, the celebration of Report. So it's a unique holiday that this world's version of Superman created, where everybody gets a little disc that they represent all their hopes and dreams, but also fears. The Self Stone, they all put it in these giant containers on one day, and the next day they take out a random container and they get another person's Self Stone. So it's a sort of passing on of, your feelings to someone else to help you relate. It says everyone all over the world does this, but man, that would be a huge undertaking, and a lot of people would probably lose theirs after like a couple days. But anyway, Bizarro's there, and he's upset because no one ever gave him a present, and it all plays out. You see all these words. It kind of is trying to feel like a old-timey Christmas story. Overall, kind of interesting. Not necessarily my favorite. Earth 12 with Terry McGinnis in the future. He's going to find an abandoned bat sub on the bottom of the ocean after one of Batman's missions. He couldn't retrieve it, and something explodes, and Terry gets visions of what if there never was a Batman. Now, this is kind of interesting, but there's a few things like, there's still a Joker and not Red Hood, and they have to go, oh, well, the concept of Joker is eternal, and I'm like, I think he'd be Red Hood if it wasn't Batman. And then they show an older version of Terry, but as we know, Terry wouldn't have been exactly the same if it wasn't for Batman. Overall, a fun story. It's good to see Terry McGinnis again, but, nerds might have a few problems. But yeah, it is kind of like It's a Wonderful Life meant with Christmas Carol, because you do get to see different characters from the Batman show becoming these ghosts that sort of guide Terry along. So it's a pretty cool story, but I do have, like it being Red Hood and like it being Joker instead of Red Hood, I do have some problems, but I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong. Up next, we get to see the League of Shadows. This is, I believe, Earth 13, and these supervillains are using mind control to force all the dark heroes of this world to fight. And this is another one where it's not actually Christmas, but some unique holiday to that world, I believe. Saturnalia or something. I'm not 100% familiar with this. But why they're fighting, the backstory for Ragman is revealed, and you get to find out why they have a living mummy on their team. And I found this part of the comic more interesting, and it does get a pretty cool twist on the end. The artwork's pretty cool, not necessarily the easiest to figure out what's going on with the spirally art style, but I do really like the colors and the shapes in it, though. But yeah, it's a pretty cool story. A little dark for a Christmas tale, but pretty cool. Moving along swiftly, you get that cube, Bizarro World, and Superman has Bizarro Superman has seen Superman give presents, so he tries to do that for his team, giving Batman a bad Batmobile with even a Superman thing hanging in the window. Bizarro Wonder Woman gets the visible jet, and I really like he gives Hawkman a giant bird cage, and in this universe, Hawkman only squawks, but it's a funny enough story. Things quickly, spiral. But that being said, boy, whenever they do Bizarro characters for too long, just trying to read all that, oh man. Bizarros, talk backwards, and whenever they do Bizarros for too long, it really, it's something to read. But anyway, up next, a character I really like that it doesn't get too much play. But Booster Gold on Earth 22, you find out that this version of Booster Gold is retired, and he runs a superhero-themed restaurant, and he is, trying to entertain everybody, and his workers are all dressed up like superheroes. But then Maxwell Lord comes, and he starts to try to steal the relics that are on display, and Booster Gold, with the help of his restaurant team, has to stop him. And at first I thought that was okay, kind of a silly plot, but it does in the end kind of spin the plot around, and you're like, okay, that actually has quite a bit of heart behind it. So I actually really did end up liking this one. The next story is kind of a weird one. President Rickard's Magical Sci-Fi Desolate Souls Club Holiday Special, a parody of the 1960s and 70s holiday specials. You get President Rickard, not 100% sure with this character, but he's trying to make a holiday special to amuse some powerful entity known as Pandar the Fallen, and you get to see there's some 1960s and 70s versions of these heroes, Sunshine Superman, Shooting Star, Speed Freak, Magic Lantern instead of a Green Lantern. So they all come and do little acts, and you get actually a fun fake ad break, combination of deodorant and cheese that you just slap on your armpits and leave there, and Tarp Detective, where it's a detective who's a tarp, is really out of nowhere and a wacky story, but it's amusing, and I actually read through that one pretty quick. But anyway, what a lot of fans will go in for is the final story, A Very Lobo Hanukkah. Now, this story actually doesn't talk too terribly much about Hanukkah, but it is about Lobo, and there's a section of the universe that has dolphins in it, and it's blocked off by these aliens who are trying to control everything, and he's going to kill them all in order to see the fish that he loves. So it is kind of a weird story, Lobo killing a bunch of people to see fish. It's really just an excuse for Lobo to fight things, and, that's always fun. But yeah, not really too much of a Hanukkah story, but it is cool to see a character that I know a lot of people really like and wish to see more of. But anyway, that's DC's Very Merry Multiverse. Some stories, were kind of just okay, and but I think there were enough that I really did like. The 70s one was legitimately wacky. The Harley Quinn one, and that one really good, probably the best one in there. Great to see Lobo and Gotham by Gaslight again. A bunch of them were just okay, but yeah, some good ones. I have to say, at least 5 of the stories are pretty good, which makes it worth buying, and the rest of them aren't bad, but there are some where like, oh, okay, whatever with that story. But yeah, hey, Terry McGinnis, Harley Quinn, Lobo, pretty cool. Anyway, I do a comic every week on this channel, so if that sounds like something you're interested in, I'd recommend sticking around. I'll have more comics to come. Other than that, I do primarily horror movies on here, so if you guys are interested in that, I do about 95% horror movies other than the comics. But anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Have a good day.